Welcome back to Culture EXE, guys. And today we're journeying with the millennials, which I'm a millennial, and exploring their issues with a midlife crisis, which I don't really think is a midlife crisis because, as you will see people talk about here, it's not quite the same as the boomers and the Gen X and whatnot. So, let's see what she has to say here.
Am I the only one that knows when millennials finally crash out? Because the crash out is coming. It's going to be epic because we can't own homes. Grandparents are not grandparenting anymore. We're never going to be able to retire. The millennials that had kids early are struggling with daycare debt and trying to figure out if they're going up to a minivan.
Oh, there's so many things there. Not being able to retire. I mean, I look at it and it's just like, how are we ever going to retire? I mean, prices are just blasting. Like how much money do I have saved? Millions probably uh to require or to retire and not and have like no worries or whatever. And then the daycare issue is, I mean, my girl wants like we're talking about having kids and the daycare thing is like, why would you even work? It's not that bad, but it is like it is a direct, it just decreases your wages directly because you have to put the kid in the daycare to go to work. It's crazy.
Van or an SUV when they can't afford either one. The ones who wait to have kids don't want them because they can't afford them because they see the rest of us on the struggle bus. And we're trying our best. We're trying our best. We're surrounding ourselves with mugs with words on them that we don't believe. We are insulating ourselves with all the things that made us feel good and safe in our childhood. We're trying to escape into our grandparent era. And to top it all off,
That's an interesting take. We are surrounding ourselves with things that made us feel good during our childhood. I don't think that's really any different than like boomers to some degree because I feel like boomers always try to give. I mean, a boomer that or a Gen Xer who is a good parent is trying to make their kid's life better than the life they had. Generally, I think is like should be the goal. Um, but yeah, chasing what it's you're really just chasing a time where your life was just like not a complete shit show of stress. And I could kind of say I still play video games, and that's like kind of like my release. I also play like a lot of card games, which I did a lot too when I was young. It's like my main hobby. Which yeah, I would agree with her. Yeah, you get older and you kind of learn it's life is better in some ways, but worse in a lot of other ways. So
there's no time to meet people. There's no way to make friends. Everywhere where you could get community either is way too expensive, you live too far away from it. Like we've been priced out of community. This is why that midlife crisis conversation is happening. Not because we're not always in a state of crisis, because we know we are, but because we have it's become too much for us to even keep up with through our regular means of coping. Sometimes I wonder what this crash out is going to look like, and I don't know, but when we finally decide to do it,
yeah, I mean, in some cases, it's going to look really bad. The buying the house situation. One of these days, I'm going to do a video on just the the housing situation, but I don't know, I think people would find that a little bit boring because I have some like spreadsheets I have put together that I look at because I'm like I mentioned before, I'm hopefully going to be buying a house here in the next couple of years. But I look at this more of yeah, more of a like existential crisis. Like what are we doing? What are we existing for? More like compared to like an actual midlife crisis where you know boomers and Gen Xers or whatever going out and buying Corvettes or whatever the hell they're doing. So I think it's just way different. I would joke when I went back to school and when I was like 30, because I owned a house and I specifically sold the house, moved back home to go to school. And I remember when I told my some of my friends that they're just like, are you crazy?" I always joked that was my pre midlife crisis, but it's the same thing. Like I had realized that the track that I was on was not going to be healthy. I was never going to be, okay. The probability of me living a nice, comfortable life, easily paying my bills, and not having to live paycheck to paycheck was super low doing what I was doing. And the probability of me getting there with it and the probability of me going to school and getting there was much higher. So I thought going to school, selling the house was the right move. Also, my house had started. It's crazy what my house would have been worth today, but I still made a decent amount of money on my house. So, anyways, yeah, this is a crisis of existence, not uh of like a more so like compared to like a traditional midlife crisis. So Yeah, this guy, he's struggling. He is struggling.
Your time. I turned 34 years old. It was my birthday yesterday, and all you need to do as a present is watch this video, and I promise you it's going to be worth your time. I turned 34 years old, which means that it was like 29, 30 by the time the pandemic hit. And I realized looking back over these last 4 years now that I don't even have any real, truly meaningful memories. It's almost like 4 years of my life didn't happen. That's 4 years of my life that I'm not going to get back. And part of that is, of course, the pandemic. I don't think.
So he's in New York. Now, the pandemic, I live in Florida, and this is the difference. And people really shit on Florida, which is crazy. The pandemic in Florida was 3 months. That's it. Like we were mostly operationally back to normal in about three, like back to like normal function. We still had to do the mask crap, all that social distancing. We're still dealing with that. But I was going back to my brewery 3 months later because DeSantis is like, yeah, we're not doing that. I'm pretty sure we were back in school pretty quick, but maybe not that soon. But so I wasn't. I just finished college when that happened. So I'm not sure what happened with the schools, but in terms of just an adult living his life, I did not experience this. And he was in New York, and I think New York was one of the worst states. California also. So
I think people truly recognize how traumatic the pandemic was for literally every single living human being. We all experienced the death of a life that we grew up with and are just thrown into this.
I agree with this. Things are different. Um, they've mostly went back, but I think what really for me, and I mean, I was already skeptical of a lot of our government agencies, but I think it really woke up. And this is really doesn't. I mean, doesn't really fall into midlife crisis, but I mean, this guy's kind of having a midlife crisis. But yeah, it really, I think it just woke a lot of people up to the shit show of like what's going on around, like with our leaders.
New world, and we have no clue how to navigate it, right? That's insane for our brains to comprehend. Then you factor in the push to technology, the push into the phones, all that stuff. Of course we're all messed up in the head. If I think about the last 4 years of my life, I can't literally, if you ask me like what are the most meaningful memories, I'll struggle. I'll come up with stuff, but I'll struggle. Like I had a cake at some point. That was good. That's a memory. Okay. There's stuff, but it's hard for me. That's horrible. That's 4 years of my life that are gone. Part of it, of course, is the things that happened. I was depressed for a long time. It took me a long time to get out of that. Then I got out of it, but I was more like, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. A lot of it is on me. Okay? I've been wasting days. And I know in the grand scheme of my life, it's technically not going to be a waste. I've been spending way too much time on my phone. Yes, it's because I'm trying.
All right, that's what I was waiting for him to get to because this is really important. This guy just seemed, I mean, he said he was depressed. He's still, I think it really seems like he's battling it a bit. I cannot tell you guys if I had to give this man one piece of advice, get the hell off of your phones. Get off. It is so bad scrolling through crap. And like the next thing he says is he's trying to build this channel or whatever. I mean, I think if you're gonna take realize like a midlife crisis realization existence a crisis of existence, and you're gonna move to do something like just as people say, touch grass, get off the phone. I just think scrolling on Instagram and TikTok is so bad for you mentally. It's crazy. I think you'd be very surprised if you just got out, stopped doing it. I don't use the only thing I use TikTok for is to look up videos to chat about. And I don't just scroll aimlessly through an algorithm. I search stuff and like just look at it. So I try to stay off of it. I think it'd help him a lot because I realized too, like when Facebook was still big, that Facebook going on Facebook excessively was like this weird thing I would go do, and I just stopped doing it. And I realized it was not depressing me like this guy, but it was definitely affecting me psychologically, and I think it does a lot of people. So, piece of advice: you don't have to stop doing it completely, but I'd really, really limit it. So,
trying to grow my following, and that's worked, and that's been rewarding in its own way, and blah blah blah. But what I've come to realize is that those big grandiose moments are not really what makes up life. It's little things in every single day. People think that like, oh, once I achieve this thing or that thing, that's when I'll be happy in life. That's not what it is.
all right, that's really what I wanted to get to. That final thing is, I used to be able to do this a lot better when I was younger. I can still do it. Like you just look forward to the most simple things. I mean, I look forward to like my vacations and things like that. But every Thursday, I meet up with my buddy at a brewery, and I tell my girl this all the time. I look forward to it so much because I just love sitting down and playing. We play a card game called Sorcery Contested Realms. We used to play Magic. That game's kind of a shit show these days, but it's just simple, man. That is such a small thing that, sit down, have some beers, and yeah. Yeah, he is right that I mean the big things matter, but your week to week needs to be have some meaning to it. So, and hopefully this guy realizes it, and maybe he'll get off the phone and move past his midlife crisis that he's having here. Because 34 is really not. You're starting to get a little bit older, but it's not too bad. I always say and tell people that like my quality of life really improved when I was in my 30s. Like 20 to me is super young. All right, let's close it out on this guy.
Generation have a midlife crisis.
Millennials do not have a midlife crisis. Come here. It was already said so beautifully. Millennials cannot have a midlife crisis because every single day is a brand new crisis, right? We are living in a time right now where millennials have not had a break from historical events happening in current times. Millennials have lived through 2 recessions right now, right? Ask a millennial when's the last time they were able to sit down and relax and not stress about anything. I promise you they'll have to think about it. A midlife crisis insinuates you have enough money.
All right, a couple of things. If you live long enough, you're going to see 2 recessions. I don't know the number off the top of my head, but it's like every 10 or 12 years you see a recession. So that's just the nature of living long, right? We're just getting older. Um, Same thing with the stress. It's just like, I think as a kid, you grow up like, oh, blah, 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 blah. And you just get older and it's like, it's just stress everywhere. I mean, speaking of the choir over here. But yeah, it just gets back, like you said, this is not a midlife crisis. This is a crisis of existence. What are we doing? It's just a realization that um, all like we had it really easy in the 20s, and like as life gets older, it just kind of sucks. It's not the best thing in the world. You got to find things that make you happy. So
To buy and do things that you wish you would have done when you were younger. Millennials have the same financial status as Gen Z right now, which is paycheck to paycheck and just buying things hoping that the card goes through.
yeah, this is true for a lot of people. And this is what I'm talking about. When I was in my 30s, I went out of the way to make that change so that I didn't have to deal with this right here. And yeah, it's savage. And yeah, it's people are calling it midlife crisis. It's just a crisis of like what is the purpose of your life and what mistakes you've made and like what are you going to do to fix the problems? And it feels impossible with what's going on in the world. Everything is just so expensive. It's just you can't go anywhere for cheap. So, but everyone's dealing with it. Find a path forward and enjoy the small things in life. And stay off your phone for Christ's sakes. Ugh. Anyways, if you like what I got going on here, like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Agree, disagree. Are you dealing with this same crap? A lot of people are. But anyways, I'll see you guys next time.